disappearing as my phone gets called. So
Oh,
and actually, let me run down to my car if you don't mind,
okay.
so I can grab my headphones as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
So what are we gonna be discussing today? How are your last few debates? What's your audience look like? How's that going?
Yeah, well, I guess I got a variety of different people in the audience. A lot of vegans and a lot of people that are interested in veganism because that's a topic I talk about a lot. Um, I would say the majority of people that listen to the live streams I do are interested in philosophy and politics, maybe leaning more towards centrist. But there's some people on the left, some people on the right. Yeah. But yeah, the talks have gone really good. I've done a few lately. I did one this morning about some
Okay. Have you?
transgendered topics, and then I had a chat with Daisy the other day about the prison system and a few other things. So yeah,
Nice. Okay. Doing. Doing well, thanks. All right, so I'm not sure. It sounds so cheesy. I'm not sure what you know about me, what you don't know about me, and what you want to talk about and what you don't want to talk about.
yeah. Okay, so I know that you wrote that book you told me about. Other than that, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know much about you, and I'm up for talking about anything. I usually just prefer to keep it either political or philosophical.
Okay.
Um, yeah, there are a handful of things that I don't know much about. But I try to push back as much as I can. I think it's good to play devil's advocate and have a little pushback on people's thoughts. But I'm open to basically, unless there's a specific topic planned out, I kind of like to hear what people are most concerned about in the world, like what things, even if it's smaller things, whatever somebody's like passion project is. Like for example, I'll talk to people about like circumcision laws a lot, and even though that's not as big of a deal as foreign affairs or whatever, it's just whatever people are interested in. I like to analyze topics. So yeah,
Alrighty then. Well, I'm an anti-fascist activist. I'm not sure if you know that. I do have a Vice documentary as well as a BBC one. Um, so I don't know if you want to talk about that now or later or whenever you're ready. I am. Ah, shit. Hold on. What the fuck? Okay. I'm trying to get my phone set up here. Does that work? Yep. Okay, that works
yeah,
for
looks
me. Does
good.
that work for you?
Yep, yep.
All
Yeah,
right.
tell me about the Vice documentary.
Um, Vice came to town during the summer of 2020, and they had a few crews running around following different activists, and they followed me, and we took them to the front lines, and we showed them the weapons of war that the police force used against the citizens of this place, and yeah, we just kind of went forward from there.
All
It's
right.
called the Antifa paradox.
Oh, the documentary. Yeah, let me write
Yeah.
that down. All right. Um, yeah, I guess tell me a little bit more about that. So, that was last year?
It's 2020.
Oh, 2020. Gotcha. Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha.
During the
That makes
riots
sense.
here.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm an indigenous anti-fascist skinhead who believes that very few white Americans actually care about black and brown people in this country, and that we are being relegated back into a slave class, at worst, at best, a second-class citizenship.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. And what is your reasoning for thinking that?
I grew up a brown man in this country. I have eyes. I
Gotcha.
can see
Gotcha.
what's happening. I see the prison, the elementary to prison pipeline. I've seen it in effect since I went to school.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, here's a question I usually like to ask people on pretty much any topic. What would it take to make you feel that that problem is fixed? Like
That
what?
this
Yeah.
country actually deals with its race problem.
But what would the outcome have to look like? Like what if you woke up tomorrow and you thought, "Oh, everything's fixed." What would it be that made you think that? What would like outcomes have to look like for you to think that?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did you go to college?
No.
Nope. You have a decent job?
Yeah, I have a job. Yeah.
Are you often stopped by the police?
I was a lot when I was a teenager.
Are you now?
No.
There we go. What it would take for me is that black and brown Americans have the same rights and privileges and opportunities that white Americans have, right? As a white American, you don't know what it's like to have your land taken from you, right? So that's an acknowledgement that you ask what it would take for me that we wouldn't see black people in jail greater than they were in jail in South Africa, meaning that this country has more black people, men in jail, than South Africa did at the height of apartheid. That's disgusting. That the indigenous population in Oregon is roughly 1.3, 1.5%, but in the prison system, that doubles.
Do you think that necessarily matters?
Absolutely, it matters.
Like even in a hypothetical world where there was more crime done by a certain race, like it doesn't matter which race we're talking about. Even if let's say the U.S. in the future is 10% white and then 40% indigenous and 40% black or something like that. If the majority of the crime was done by white people, would you not expect to see more white people in jail? I'm not saying that's the case now.
Are
I'm
you
just
saying,
saying
well, what
hypothetically.
I'm asking, well, I don't understand that hypothetical question because it seems to me that you're saying that more crime is committed by black Americans than
No,
white
I'm saying
Americans.
I'm saying if it were, would we not expect that?
I can't speak for hypotheticals. I,
Huh.
it's not real. The reality of my situation is different though,
Okay,
right?
I guess my question would be, like how do we know? Okay, do you think that most people in prison right now are guilty of what they're in prison for?
Please don't hear this the wrong way.
Yeah.
Um, That's a ridiculous question, though.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
are thousands upon thousands that are being held in prison, in cages, that haven't seen a judge. There are people, for example, in LA County that have been there for 2, 3, 4 years waiting to go through the system.
Oh wow.
How are those people guilty of anything? They
Yeah.
haven't
No.
been before a judge yet. So to ask me whether I think the majority of people in prison are guilty, I can't answer that.
Okay. No, and I'm with you there. So here's the thing. On almost any topic, I'm skeptical until I learn more, and then as I learn more, if I think something's wrong, I stand up for it as strongly as I can. And so I'm with you. I think that it seems ridiculous the idea that somebody would go to jail and wait even months, but especially years to get their due process. So
But
I'm with you.
that's an aspect of your privilege. You don't have to worry about it. You've never had to worry about it. This is what I'm saying. This is the problem between Americans. You live in a completely different world than I live in. I'm not sure where you live in, but I'm assuming that we live in the same area, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm in Salem, Oregon.
okay, I'm in Portland.
Okay.
So the same area. You're in a town that was considered the Klan headquarters of the Willamette Valley, right? The Klan is deep in Salem.
Gotcha. Well, I just want to point out like when I agree and then when I'm skeptical. So everything I'm skeptical about until I agree. As of now, I would say I totally agree with you that it's ridiculous for somebody to go to jail for, I'll just say a year or more. without getting a trial or due process. Do you happen to have the vague numbers off the top of your head of how many people that's the case for? Like, do you think that's the case for like even 1% of people that are in jail or prison, or is it like a large amount of people haven't even gone to trial yet?
I'm going to say a large amount of people haven't gone to trial yet. I do not have the numbers off the top of my head, but I'm more than happy to get back to you with those numbers and
Yeah.
contact my attorneys and provide them. I'm sure they're all different by county, by region. But what we
Yeah.
can know is that in any jail in this country, you're going to find predominantly black and brown men, period.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you think that we have so again, when I say these things, I'm not assuming that black or brown people commit more crimes necessarily. I'm just trying to discuss the elements. Do you think that there is enough evidence out there to know that there are like a good amount of white people committing crimes and not going to jail, while black people commit the same crimes and do go to jail?
Do you know what white privilege is?
The basic concept, for sure.
Which is?
Well, I mean, privilege means you get a benefit of sorts.
Okay,
And
so there are jurisdictions in this country where you and I can go, okay?
Okay.
Both get caught with an eighth of weed. You're going to get your hands slapped. I'm going to go to jail.
Now, do we have a way to know that? Like,
We've seen it
are there
down south.
stats?
This is the definition of white privilege. That white people get away with a little bit more than the rest of us because you're white. Right?
Yeah, I understand the basic concept, but how do we know that's the case?
What do you mean, how do we know that's the case, bro?
Like, so for example, you're saying this with the slap on the hand for the weed or going to jail for the weed. Like, do we have actual like stats and it's documented where we see in this same town with this same judge, the same amount of weed is on the person and this person got let go? I mean, are these
kind
things
of being silly right now? White privilege is Quanice Hayes, murdered, 17 years old, shot in the back. White privilege is Officer Mark Kruger, a known Nazi, in charge of a precinct that is full of people of color. We see white privilege every fucking day in this country. We see it now with the reversals of DEI. The little bit that my people have, your people are trying to take away. Okay? You go to any jail. You're like, oh, I've been to jail a lot when I was youth. Then you should see. You saw mostly black and brown youth. I promise you. Okay?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
see a lot of people that look like you. So we see that white privilege is in effect. Okay? Why do you think everybody wants to deport people that look like me? You don't see a lot of deportations. You don't see ICE going after a lot of European illegals that are here.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I'm trying to figure it out with you. Because like if there is an issue, and I'm not saying there's not, a lot of us aren't aware of different things at different times. I'm all about fighting for various different things and spreading the word to as many people as possible. And that way people can vote based on their ideas and their understandings. So I guess what I'm saying is if there's an issue, I want it fixed. I want to fight for it. Once it's fixed, I want to know when it's fixed. So if I don't know how to know the issue, I can't know how to fight for it or when it's fixed, if that makes sense.
The great humanitarian Malcolm X gave a speech over 40 years ago entitled The Ballot or the Bullet. For those 40 years, people of color have had our faith in the ballot. It's time to put our faith in the bullet, quite frankly.
Okay. That's fine. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to figure out the best way to approach the Okay, so you think that it's time to put your faith in the bullet and not the ballot. My question would be, okay, so before the question, I'm assuming that based on what you're experiencing, what you're seeing, what the outcomes are, is what's leading you to decide, okay, things are at a point where we need the bullet now, not the ballot. At some point, if things get fixed, then you would be at the point where you would say, okay, the ballot's good now. We don't need the bullet anymore because things are fixed to that point. what is it that it's going to look like for it? Like, it can't just be your day to day, right? It has to be um, an objective outcome, right? That's going to make you go, okay, we don't need the bullet anymore.
Do you understand that every interaction I have with a police officer can result in my death? Any
Yes.
any interaction, the smallest interaction can result in my death.
Why do you think that?
The color of my skin.
How often does anybody that's not white die from in the hands of the police?
Really? Are we gonna? Is this the podcast that I'm on? No offense personally, but really,
Hmm?
you haven't read a newspaper in 4 years, 10 years. You haven't seen what's going around. You did not see the riots across this country that
Yeah.
people demanded justice for Black and Brown lives. You haven't.
Hmm?
You live in Salem. Are there any streets that are named after Indigenous people? Because up here there are, right?
Hmm?
But those Indigenous people aren't here. You go to Minneapolis, that place is full of indigenous names, not nary an indigenous person, right? This country was founded on genocide. I don't celebrate those Americans that went and fought the Nazis because those are the same Americans that came back and wouldn't let black people into their restaurants. Just a different form of racist.
Okay, well, hold on. I'd like to talk to you about the Native American genocide as well, but first, real quick, just on deaths. Now, I might be wrong, and you could point me in a certain direction. Somewhere between maybe 5 to 10 deaths, something like that, a year. Is that correct?
Is really 5 to 10 deaths. Let's just take a quick gander here. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you like this: one is too many.
Well, sure.
Do you know where your police come from? Are you aware of where your police are descendants from?
You mean the idea of police existing?
In this country, in the
Yeah. I mean,
United States.
yeah. I've heard some vague idea of like slave catchers for escaped slaves or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Down south, up north for property protection. So
Mm,
the wealthy. So it seems like no offense, but it seems like you're a contrarian, and I get that whole shtick.
mm,
But black and brown people are dying. Black and brown people are going missing. Black and brown people live in poverty, okay, at the benefit of a conquering race. No offense, and I have plenty of
mm,
white friends. Very few white people truly care about the black and brown indigenous experience in this country. And
mm.
they are on par to make us a slave class, period. You can see it through our education. You can see it in the education to prison pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, you can believe me or not believe me, but like I care about people equally. I care about. I would fight for everybody's rights. And at this point, I'm not trying to make any claim of like any superior knowledge or anything
No, no,
on these
I know,
topics.
but it saddens me that these issues have been gripping. And like, I get it. Veganism's a thing. Vegans have their own sense of morality.
Hmm.
Cool enough, right? And everything, but that these subjects have been at the forefront of everything. And so it saddens me to see a white person,
Hmm.
quite frankly, who's like, yeah, I've been dealing with these other things, right?
Hmm.
Because it means that my people and black and brown people that are suffering for your whole lifetime
Hmm.
does not matter.
Well, I don't think that's exactly true. It might be something like true, but I think it's really complicated the further something gets away from somebody's experiences or where they live. For example, there's like 27 countries where it's perfectly legal to circumcise girls, to cut off their clitoris, that kind of thing. And it's really hard to fight for something like that that's so far away from us. So we oftentimes, each of us individuals, will fight for various things depending on how much time we have and how much experience we have with it.
Right, but
And
I'm saying, but for me, and I hear you, I
mhm,
hear that. But again, not being able to see your own privilege, right? Your experience, your interaction with a cop may likely not result in your death.
Hmm.
Mine is. We're both from Oregon. Let us
Yeah.
both walk around with guns here. We can
Yeah.
both open carry. We can both open carry. You're gonna get some looks, okay?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna get put on the ground by the cops.
I believe you think that, and I believe that might be
I don't think
possible.
that, sir. I know that.
Okay, but here's the thing. What could you point to? And again, I would just want to see the information, and then I could go, "Oh, I've been wrong this whole time." But from
Here's
my
what I would
understanding,
here's what I would suggest then:
okay,
that we do this again,
okay,
not a blind conversation.
yeah,
That you do some research on me and my activism and what I'm about, and
hmm,
then you'll have proper questions to ask me, and we can have a proper question debate to go to, like, and we can have a proper conversation, and you can let me know the topics that you would like to discuss. As I've said, I'm closer to Malcolm than I am Martin,
yeah, yeah.
clearly from here. And then we can go forward. But a blind conversation without knowing who I am, what my work is, and what I've done, I've I don't want to come out on this podcast and rehash that, and right, because it's commercial at that point, right? But I would like to come on and do have a serious conversation about race, but it doesn't seem like like I'm not trying to educate you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I don't exactly understand the difference between when it's done. I mean, like I can ask you some questions based on the idea of police and people's skin color, and then I can also ask you some questions right now about. You made a comment about Native American genocide, and I think that would be interesting to talk about.
I mean,
Um,
what would you like to talk about that, sir?
do you,
We can talk. I mean, we
okay.
can talk, but merely by your people showing up, you killed millions of my people.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, I personally, and everybody can look at these things differently. I don't view these things as your people, my people, that kind of thing. It's all right if you want to. Like I don't like, it's kind of interesting how culture happens to work. And I don't know if this is like an American thing, but I think a lot of white people in America, they don't really have this thing where they want to look into their history and find out if they're from Ireland or Scotland or Switzerland or where their people are from. I've never had that kind of a thing where I want to know my culture, but maybe it's just because I wasn't raised that way to think in that way. But I definitely don't like. You know how like some people in the South will like look at their culture and they'll want to have like the Southern Confederate flag and that kind of thing. Some people have that and some people don't. I don't look at white colonialist and go like those are my people. I feel
But
like
they are.
responsible for their actions. You could say
They are.
that.
You benefit from their actions each and every day.
Yeah, and that's something worth discussing. The
So,
idea of me
so
benefiting from it is fine, and the idea if there's a downside you get because of my ancestors or your ancestors or whatever, then that's also worth talking about. I'm just saying the actual actions from then don't have any connection to me or you.
they do. It's your
Um,
privilege that allows you to see it. To be like, oh, I'm above it. No, you are just as guilty as your white colonial ancestors. You benefit from what their genocide each and every day.
yeah. Okay. Well, let's discuss that
You
genocide thing real quick because I think that's an unfair claim. If
what
we're
do you mean an unfucking fair claim? 100 million indigenous people died in the first 100 years after fucking contact. That's by definition a genocide, my friend.
Are you talking in the U.S. or are you talking in the Americas?
The U.S. as well as the Americas. Dude, my partner's ancestors were put on the Trail of Tears by your ancestors. Maybe not
Yeah.
directly, but other white people.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, I have no care about my my ancestors.
I care about your ancestors, though.
That's fine. I can look at individuals and collectives from the
We
past and discuss right and wrong.
we are not the same. Okay, my people suffer. Your people flourish. Your people flourish on land that is stolen, right? Um, and you make no room for us. None. We were forced to speak your language, our customs, our culture, our languages, our religion was stolen. We were
Mhm.
taken from tribal lands and put onto other lands, thus the Trail of Tears.
Okay, well, let me explain an interesting hypothetical. I don't know if you're against all hypotheticals, but I'm just curious what your thoughts would be on this. Let's say that we discovered tomorrow with some kind of like looking at ancient artifacts or whatever. We discover tomorrow that if you go back like 20,000 years ago, when Native Americans crossed the Bering Strait and first ever came here. Let's imagine that for some reason there were a group of white people that were here, and we discovered that the Native Americans wiped them out 20,000 years ago.
Bro, dude,
And
this is the most ridiculous conversation I've ever fucking had.
I
No offense.
well,
No
just
offense.
are you unwilling to answer it?
But that didn't happen.
I don't care. Are you unwilling
That
to answer it?
that did not
I don't
fucking
care.
happen. No, I'm not here to talk about hypotheticals. I'm here to talk about the crimes that happened against my people and what's needed to rectify them. Okay? I'm not here to talk about, well, what if white people lived here, okay, and then brown people came and stole them? That's some more colonial bullshit.
Why? Like, what do you have
It
against
is,
answering a
bro.
question?
Your people bring suffering. Your people don't fucking suffer.
And that's fine, and I'm willing to talk to
Okay,
you about
but I'm
that.
not
I don't
here
get.
to talk about. I'm not a product of some hypothetical situation. I am a product of real life racism.
I'm not asking you for a product of it. I'm
Okay,
asking you what your
so
thoughts would
I'm
be
not
on it.
here to deal in hypothesis, and those things are for people with privilege, with time and effort to think. Man, I'm grinding every fucking day, dude. I ain't got that
I'm
time.
just trying to understand your values. And
What do you mean my What do you
if
mean
you
my
would
values?
if you could answer my question, I would know how you value these things.
What value? What things?
So I'm trying to find out where in a certain situation what you would think of it. It'll tell me how you value the thing. You just telling me how you
Are you a
feel now.
psychologist?
Am I a psychologist? No.
Do you have an MD? Are you a doctorate?
No.
Okay, well then let's get rid of that shit. Let's deal with some realities. Okay, I appreciate you, but I'm not
Yeah.
here for hypothesis. I'm here for realities, right? For what's really going on there. Every day, black and brown and indigenous people are dying. Nobody gives a shit when a black or an indigenous woman goes missing, right? But the news is filled when white people go missing.
Yeah. Oh, I
Right?
think maybe part of the problem would be when
that I live in a country where indigenous people from south of an imaginary border cannot come here to their land, but Afrikaners are now allowed to come here as long as they can prove their European descent. The worst of the white dregs. Okay? This is what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about how this group of rich, white, mediocre old men are fucking ruining the working class.
yeah, maybe they are. I'm up for talking about any of these things. Again, I don't
I'm not
get
here
why.
to speak in hypothesis, though, sir. No
Yeah,
offense. Okay? My people's suffering
I'm not offended. I just feel like it's
my
a big
people's
problem in the world is if
my
people aren't
people's
willing to
suffering
answer
is too
hypotheticals.
real. Okay? My people suffering from
Yeah.
fucking coast to coast, from north to south, are too real.
Yeah, and I think that everybody should be talking about these things, learning about these things, and working to make a better world for everyone. I personally find it really hard to have to
I'm not trying
get
to make a better world for everyone. I'm trying to make a better world right now for my people.
sure, whatever. That's fine. What I'm saying is anybody that is being wronged, I don't want to be wronged. Anybody that could be helped, I want to be helped. So on and so forth. It's
Would
just
you help
really.
a Nazi?
Would I help a Nazi? What do you mean by that?
Well, you just said I would help anyone. So would you help a Nazi?
Would I help? Well, I would need a little more information. There's probably a
Well-
bazillion cases where I'd help a Nazi, of course.
Really?
Well, sure. Like if there was a Nazi that was being executed and I could press a button to what's up?
I would say bye-bye to that Nazi.
Well, sure. Yeah, and there's many cases where I would do that, depending on what we're talking about. What are they doing? What are their actions? But yeah, in general, do I have any specific interest in helping Nazis? No.
Well, then I ask because so language is very specific, right? So I'm
Yeah.
curious when someone says I will help anyone in need, because
Anyone in need? Yeah.
whereas I wouldn't.
Well, and again, it would depend on the situation. It would depend on, but yeah, and that's fine that you wouldn't as well. Yeah, there's
I
everything
mean,
has
yeah, I don't
its
like the
situation.
thing is, I don't mind having a conversation. I think a conversation could be very fruitful.
Mhm.
I don't mind debating right wingers, blah blah blah. I've been on a BBC with a fascist before, but the thing is, I just don't like hypotheticals. Again, my people's suffering is too real. Your time is busy. My time is busy.
Yeah.
Um, it's
Uh,
valuable and
yeah.
precious, and
See, I just don't understand what your values are. If you being unwilling to answer the hypothetical, which is fine, I just can't. I can't figure out what you care about
I care
in
about my
humans.
people.
Yeah, and I can't understand that without the like. It sounds like you care about your people, even if you shouldn't.
What do you mean?
Like, let's say, do you think anybody should care about Nazis?
Nope.
Okay, well, if somebody's people were all Nazis, so let's say Germans in the 1930s, if somebody said, I care about my people, they probably shouldn't. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but the fact that you won't answer the hypothetical makes me think that you blindly care about your people. And in your case, maybe you should. And in some cases, maybe people shouldn't. Again, we can,
Are you
yeah.
saying that are you saying that I would advocate for the destruction over Nazis for my people?
I'm saying that it sounds like, from what I'm gathering from you, is that you care about your people, whether for good or bad reasons, to the point where you don't care about figuring out why or where your values come from.
So here's the thing. When you have been stomped upon and
Hmm.
stomped upon and stomped upon and repeatedly stomped upon and lied and spit upon, okay? You get to the point where, you know what? I'm gonna beat my space for me, and then I'm gonna be able to have like my little space, and we'll breathe, and we'll go from there.
Hmm.
But yeah, so there we are.
Sure, and that's fine.
I mean,
Anybody can feel how they want to feel.
but I also believe that there are white people that really care about what is happening. I also think that those people are very few and far and rare between in between.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's fine. Okay. Um, so again, okay, I'm gonna step away from the hypothetical. If you change your mind on that, let me know. We can just go back to the genocide element. From my understanding, and again, we just look at history. You can tell me if whoever wrote this part of history is inaccurate. From my understanding, the majority, like 90 to 95% of Native Americans in all of the Americas, were wiped out by disease that is thought to have mostly come over from blankets. So smallpox, that the entire indigenous population on a whole were not like in contact with smallpox, and smallpox wiped them out. Do you find this to be inaccurate?
It's a one tribe thing, bro.
A one tribe. What do you mean by that?
I forget which tribe, but it didn't happen to all indigenous people. That's fucking ridiculous. It's like
Uh,
what happened was genocide, taking and stealing land and
mm,
moving people because white people felt their fucking ridiculous God, manifest destiny, okay, gave them the right to do that
hmm.
and to slaughter indigenous people, men, women, children by the thousands. This is a fact, and this is the history of your country and the history of your people.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And I'd love to have you, maybe at some point, if you have free time and you're interested, sending me some information on that.
There,
I,
you can Google it.
mhm.
I no offense, but I'm not here to do labor for someone. So like
That's fine.
right. So anything that I can get, just like you can Google and start from there. And that
Yeah.
there are many tribal elders who would be happy that you can reach out to that would talk to you about this
Yeah.
subject.
Interesting. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
The,
And that's fine. I'm personally, and we could, it could be an interesting conversation. I'm not a fan of that kind of popular idea now that goes around of people not doing labor for other people and Googling it and that whole thing.
that's because you're white.
And that might be. I also like to think I'm passionate and I care about a lot of topics. So anything that I'm passionate about, I go out of my way to teach people about. So like you mentioned veganism earlier. I'm pretty passionate about veganism. So if I'm telling somebody about veganism and then they're telling me that they have interest and they would check out something, I'll spend all the time in the world to send them something about it. I wouldn't tell the person that's not vegan, you can do research if you want.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not
Yeah.
here. Unfortunately, you are a white man. Okay, and the world is full of them and their mediocrity. I'm not saying that you are mediocre in any way, but
Mhm.
what I am saying is that white people do expect a lot of people to do things for them. And if you're interested in finding out the crimes of your people and your ancestors, libraries are stocked full of them, my friend.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So anything I'm interested in, I'm going to find on my own. I
I
research things all the time.
right,
I'm a huge
exactly.
fan of U.S. history, so I read a lot of books on U.S. history, but
Right.
I constantly am looking up things all over the place.
Now, what
So
I would suggest to
obviously,
you though is any book that you read that are about indigenous people
mm,
don't come with European names. I would encourage that for yourself because it's going to be tainted.
yeah, and I'm always open to the idea of looking at where in history things could have been written wrong and inaccurate and tainted and all that kind of stuff for sure. I guess whenever I talk to people about things where they have a stance that I either am not familiar with or that I don't agree on, I'm always willing to look into anything. If somebody sends me an article, I read it. Somebody sends me a book recommendation, I try to read it. I'm
I
not saying
hear
you need
I
to.
hear you.
I like if you have some understanding that I don't have. So anything I've researched shows that almost all Native Americans were just wiped out by smallpox. I
I
thought
mean,
that was
bro,
common
you
knowledge.
can why don't you go if you really think that, go to the Warm Springs Reservation, bro. There's tons of elders there that'll talk to you
Hmm?
and redirect you and educate you,
Sure,
right?
and I.
Maybe. I mean, I would hope that they wouldn't. I would hope that they would encourage you to go find it on your own because it's not hard to see. You just have
Mhm.
to open your eyes, my friend, right? And asking other people to do it for you is ridiculous. My
Well,
people
here,
are already
yeah.
suffering enough.
So I'm not asking anybody to do anything. In this case, the thing that you're saying that you would prefer not to do, I'm saying if it's something you want me to know, you could send it my way. Anytime I talk to anybody, if they have some information on something that they're passionate about, like I'm offering that I'm willing to read something that they could send me. I'm not asking you to do anything because it's not a thing I need to do. I don't believe it. I
And
only
that
from my
and
understanding.
that's
Yeah.
fine. And you know what? No offense. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a whole lot of white people that don't believe it. And that's why with the
Mhm.
politicization of the American gangster, white America will tremble, right? Because here's the thing, my friend, you don't have to believe it, but we are coming, right? And that's the thing. And you don't have to believe it. And then if something were bad to happen, you'd be like, oh, why is this happening? People are fucking angry, bro. And
Mhm.
you, white America, has got its head so far up its own ass that it doesn't even see the danger that's right fucking in front of it.
What danger are you referring to?
Bro, black and brown people are fucking angry, right? Do you think that we're gonna fucking take being pushed around and shit on much longer? I doubt it. Okay, and here's the thing: it's not gonna come from me.
Hmm.
Fuck, I'm an old fuddy duddy. It's gonna come from the youngsters in the streets that are done, being pushed around, that are done being second class citizens, and they're done.
Hmm.
What? Why shouldn't they fight to overthrow this government? What's left for them?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Okay. So what would you, aside from I guess what we have talked about so far, what would you say are some of the main things? Like we'll start with one that black and brown people are done with. Like what's an
A lack
issue
of
off the top of your head?
education, an education to prison pipeline,
Okay.
no opportunities. Look at our neighborhoods.
Okay. Let's go with the lack of education. From your view, what is the cause of that?
White people don't want to spend money on black and brown youth. They're happy with a slave class of citizenry. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
bro. Here's the. I mean, again, I think I'm gonna go hiking. I super appreciate this time. I don't know if you're gonna air
Yeah.
it. I don't know if there's anything here worth airing. To be honest with you, um, it just I do a lot of stuff with like the BBC, MSNBC, blah blah blah. You can Google my name, um, and we can go. But you're so most people have an awareness of the subjects that they're going to talk to me about, right? Like
Hmm.
I went over your list of your 5 topics, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to talk about any of those, right? Um, because A, I don't give a fuck about veganism. B, I'm not a woman, so I don't care. Like abortion should be safe and legal. Period. Right? I hormone puberty blockers don't fucking make people one sex or another and can be reversed. So yay. Okay. And what was it? And yeah. And so I care about social issues and what's going on with black and brown and indigenous people. Unfortunately, oh, not Rush Limbaugh. I've done real right wing media, and they have questions. They're ready for me,
Hmm.
right? Um, I get that you don't believe that you think that 90 to 95% of indigenous people in the United States were wiped out by blankets. Um, And if you believe that, that's like, fuck, dude, I got a bridge I can sell you. Okay? Because we're just about everywhere in very small numbers that we haven't been moved from.
Hmm.
Um, and I would encourage you to learn about Manifest Destiny and the settlement of this country and Jim Crow laws and,
Why would you think I
slavery.
don't know these
Slave,
things?
um, talking to you, quite frankly.
I
Um,
don't understand because I'm asking you some questions and you aren't answering
you,
them.
you're asking me hypotheticals. Okay,
I did ask you one hypothetical. You
you've asked
never
me a
answered
couple
it.
hypotheticals now, and it's okay. But
Hmm.
again, when working class whites and black indigenous youth rise up, it breaks my heart that you won't know why. Okay,
Okay.
and yeah, and by not knowing why, you are part of the problem that we're fighting against.
And that's what I'm trying to talk to you about. And it's okay if you don't want to talk about it. I guess I'll give you an example of where I see the problem within the conversation. If a neighbor came to me and just said like, "Oh, so and so over here, he's bad. I can't tell you why, but I really think you and everybody else should get around and just go and kill him or something." Like I'm
Your
not. Well,
white
hold on, hold
your
on, hold
white
on, hold on. Just
history
hear me out.
shows you.
Hear me out. Hear me out. So I'm just saying, like somebody telling me a thing, not telling me anything about why. I'm not going to go do something about that thing. But you can believe me or not believe me. But anytime there is somebody being wronged or there being an issue that I think is worth fighting for, I'll fight for it. So if
I
you
didn't
tell
see you
me,
on the streets between 2016 and 2020 fighting the right wing. I was in Salem. I
mm-hmm,
didn't see you there.
well, streets are big, but also I wasn't there.
So every time someone is under justice, you won't necessarily fight because you just said you weren't there. The streets are pretty big, but
Well, yeah,
right.
I'm also not in every single state and every single country. I'm saying if there is a topic that something bad is happening, I am all about the idea of fighting for it. I'm willing to fight on the street, and I'm also willing to fight in the sense of conversation, spreading word, talking to all kinds of people. There's so many
Well,
different ways.
look. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You should read some books on the history of your people. It's bro. All you have to do is look. Okay. No offense, but that's all you have to do is look.
Look, no, that's not true.
Yeah, we are still there's still Jim Crow laws here. In Oregon, there are still sunset fucking towns. Okay?
Like, I
There are
would love to talk to you about that. I'm guessing if I ask you about it, you'll say, I don't want to talk about it. Go look it
fucking
up.
Salem's in some respects a sunset town. Dude, I won't be there after sunset for the life of me. Anything south of you is a sunset town, bro, except
What?
for maybe Eugene. And even then Eugene's iffy.
Okay, so
There are a
what?
whole bunch of bona fide Nazis down there, bro.
Yeah, so what's a
Um,
sunset town?
a sunset town is where people of color have to leave before sunset, bro.
Like legally or because
No,
of?
they're not, bro. They used to be legal, but they're not legal anymore. But you still, if you're brown, you know, you get the fuck out, bro. This is what I'm saying. It's harder talking to you
Mhm.
than bona fide right wing. Oh, what's that dude's name? I just did his fucking radio show. He's a
Mhm.
local guy. He's on all the time. Um, sounds like Rush Limbaugh, but not. I can't think
Yeah,
of
I'm
his
not
name
sure.
right now.
I just don't. I don't see
But
why. I feel like my questions are pretty clear,
no,
and I'm being
they're
pretty
they're they're,
honest
they're
with you.
they're
I think you
honestly,
want. I think you
like
have set
you and I
things.
are we're the type of people that don't mesh. We're
Well,
oil
sure,
and
because it
vinegar,
sounds like you have set things you want to
and on top
say,
of that,
and you don't want to be questioned about it.
no, like here's the thing:
Yeah,
you're a white guy, and you're like, really? The prisons are full of brown people,
I did not
huh?
say that.
Like you're shocked, bro. Like
No,
there
I'm
is a
not. I
prison
didn't
in a
say
pipeline.
that.
Like you don't understand white
I,
privilege. Fuck for fuck's
I
sake,
didn't.
bro.
I didn't say that.
No offense, dude, but when
I'm
you're
not
out at
offended. You
the
said I did a thing
protest,
that I didn't do.
when you're out at the protest, you
Uh
should
huh.
go stand with the Proud Boys because their opinions about race and everything are just like yours, guy.
Well, interesting. So
Like
what do you mean by that? I'd love to hear it.
it's ignorance, my friend.
That's fine. Ignorance is fine. What are their opinions that are the same as mine?
Like you think your opinion's important. You think you know what's going on. You're like, oh, I've read books.
Why do you
Okay,
think that?
but you. Oh, sorry, I'm walking around with my phone.
You're fine, but you're
I
making
just no
claims that just
offense,
are completely
no offense.
inaccurate.
Hey, no offense,
Yeah.
dude. I
I'm
can't
not
do this
offended.
with you.
It's just bizarre.
Like you're a great guy, but but rather than doing this, dude, I'm gonna go for a walk with my beautiful fucking partner,
Go for
and
it. That's awesome.
we can maybe talk later and figure something out. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. I hope you have a good one.
You too, brother. Be
Take
well.
care.
Bye bye. Let's go walk. How do I get out?